The cracks between the holes will continue to expand. The pressure in the seat causes the cracks in the first place. If you don't secure it appropriately, you have the chance of the whole thing breaking apart, and then you're losing dozens of hours of work. This chair has been repaired once before, and someone has put some dowels in, but it didn't quite hold. Crack opening up. So what I want to do is get some glue down into the crack and then secure this rail with a few screws. So this crack here, we're not able to get it apart enough to work regular wood glue in. So I'm going to use a very thin CA glue, and it'll wick down into the joint. You're going to wipe up any excess using a dry paper towel. You don't want to use a wet paper towel or it will cure the glue immediately. Putting this on before I put clamps on, it gets the maximum amount of coverage, that joint where the cracks are. I'm going to wipe with a dry paper towel, not a wet paper towel. A wet paper towel will cure it immediately. Using a couple small bar clamps, the crack is tight, adding some glue, and then I'll wipe up the excess again. Now that we're glued and clamped, I put a few screws in. You want to make sure you're going in between the holes. The screw is long enough to completely secure the joint together. So not too short and not super long either. Pre-drill the holes, going in the middle of the rail, in between the holes. It's important to countersink the holes so that the head of your screw is flush or below flush with the side of the rail. All right, I like to use a trim screw or a cabinet screw. The heads are a little smaller. These work great because of the lower profile. So if you wanted to, you could put some putty or epoxy over the top of the screw and color it to match. We're going to do the same process 3 more times. The CA glue cures very quickly, and now that we've got the screws in to hold everything in place, we could take the clamps off, but if you've got time to let them sit for 24 hours, that's always better. So when you have a crack through the holes and you're able to actually remove the entire piece, you can get regular wood glue on here. It's the more appropriate way to do it. On these rockers, we do see these edges break off or start to pull away quite often. Somewhat to do with the curve and the extra pressure that's putting on. Also, the holes are pretty close together. The first thing I like to do is use a steel brush. Get rid of any of the flakes and dirt and all the stuff on this side, as well as on the piece that we're going to re-glue on. Now, if you have, as you're doing this, you have a lot of space where there's a lot of wood missing, you're going to want to use an epoxy instead of just a wood glue. This one, most of the wood is there, so we will use just a regular wood glue. The epoxy does a good job of filling in cavities that can happen if like these little ridges have broken away. And I'm not worried about getting glues into the holes. I'm going to have to re-drill all the holes afterwards anyways. And we do the same thing using epoxy. And these holes that I'm going over right now are from where the arm attaches. It was best to take the arm off completely in order to make this fix. It's important to apply glue to both sides so that it really gets into the grain. Hopefully fit back in place. There we go. Nice. And I'm going to throw a couple of wood clamps on there. And you want to clamp it tight, but not so tight that you're actually pushing all the glue out of the joint. That looks good to me. And we're going to secure it with a few screws, getting any excess glue off. Pre-drill a few holes. And as I mentioned before, you can fill those with putty and add some color, and you'll never know they're there. There's a bit of a crack on the other side. I go ahead and put some screws in just as an insurance policy. So on this side, there did appear to be a hairline crack. Drip some glue into the crack, and I've already secured it with screws. This is just in case, but that should do. So there's no clamps necessary on that side that we were working on. That crack was so small. These clamps you want to leave on for 24 hours for sure. Ample time for the wood glue to dry. We have a lace cane video if you need some help doing the weaving. We also have a caning needle video that really helps speed things up. Thank you for watching the Silver River Chairs channel. We're filming.
Yes.
We're doing
Testing,
filming.
testing.
Testing.